Hi, I'm Jennifer Parker, and this is a story about how appearances can lie, especially when money and family pride are involved. For a decade, I lived quietly, keeping my real estate business hidden behind a modest lifestyle. My brother and his wife? They preferred to make a show of everything. Tom and I couldn't have been more opposite growing up. He chased status, sports cars, brand names, luxury vacations. I focused on saving, investing, and building for the long run. Our parents worried about both of us, though in different ways. "Jen, you've got to enjoy life a little," Mom would sigh, watching me cut coupons despite earning six figures. "You're too young to live like a retiree." Tom, on the other hand, married Sarah, someone who matched his taste for extravagance perfectly. Their wedding looked like a royal event, complete with ice sculptures and a celebrity singer. I showed up in a simple dress, gifting them a high-end coffee maker from their registry. Sarah's response was a tight smile and a jab. "Oh, how practical," she said. "We were hoping for the gold-plated version, but this will do." That moment defined our relationship. While they spent lavishly and traveled the world, I kept driving my 10-year-old Toyota and put my money into properties instead. At every family gathering, they flaunted their latest purchases and joked about my frugal ways. They had no clue that while they were spending, I was quietly becoming a millionaire. Every house I bought was strategic, renovated, rented, and reinvested. By the time I turned 35, my real estate portfolio had crossed $20 million. But I never mentioned it to anyone. Then came the family dinner that changed everything. Tom and Sarah arrived late, as always, making an entrance that could have been scripted. "Sorry we're late," Sarah announced, showing off her new designer bag. "We just signed papers for our dream home, the Victorian mansion on Maple Avenue." I nearly laughed out loud. "That mansion? I owned it." "It's perfect," Tom said proudly. 5 bedrooms, pool, garden, the works. We had to outbid a few people, but that's what money's for, right? Mom and Dad were thrilled. "That's wonderful. When do you move in?" "Next month," Sarah replied, then turned to me with a smirk. "Of course, not everyone gets real estate." "Still in that little apartment, Jennifer?" I simply smiled, thinking about the anonymous property firm that handled the sale for me. They had no idea who their landlord was. Sarah wasn't done. "You should really think about your future," she said sweetly. "If you live like a poor person, you'll die like one." The table went quiet. Even my parents looked uncomfortable. She glanced at my outfit and added, "Look at you, discount clothes, old car, tiny place. Don't you want more out of life?" Tom and I believe in living big. Living our best life now. That's why we earned this beautiful home, Sarah finished proudly. I smiled faintly and reached for my purse. "About that house." But before I could say more, she interrupted with a laugh. "Oh, don't worry, Jennifer. You can come visit sometimes, just make sure to wipe your shoes. We're putting in Italian marble floors, of course." That was my cue. I opened my bag and took out a folder. Inside were the property deed, the signed lease, and my company's business records. "Actually," I said calmly, "we should probably talk about your rental terms." The room went silent. All conversation stopped as I laid the papers neatly on the dining table. Sarah's smile froze as she saw the deed, clearly marked with my company's name. I don't understand," Tom stammered, snatching up the documents. "This must be some kind of mistake. We dealt with Wellington Real Estate Group." "Yes," I said evenly, sliding a card toward him. "Wellington Real Estate Group, President and CEO, Jennifer Parker. I founded the company 8 years ago." "That tiny apartment you've always mocked?" "It's just one of 60 properties I own across the city." Sarah's face drained of color, her expensive lipstick standing out like a red slash. "But that can't be. You're broke. You shop at discount stores." I chuckled softly. "Wealth isn't about how loudly you spend, Sarah. While you and Tom were upgrading cars every 2 years, I was buying apartment complexes. While you chased designer labels, I was purchasing office buildings. Dad picked up the papers, slipping on his glasses. 20 million in assets, he murmured. Jenny, why didn't you ever tell us? Because I didn't need to, I said gently. I wanted my success to be quiet, earned, not flaunted. You and Mom taught us to work hard and be smart. I just followed that advice in my own way. Mom's eyes glistened, caught somewhere between pride and disbelief. Tom was already scrolling on his phone, no doubt searching for my company online. His expression shifted as he found the news articles, each one describing Wellington Real Estate Group's success and its elusive founder who avoided public attention. He looked up, voice cracking. Wait, so the contract we signed, it wasn't a purchase? Correct, I said. You signed a rental agreement. The house was never for sale, it's a luxury rental property. Everything was clearly stated in the paperwork. Didn't you read it? Sarah jumped to her feet, her chair screeching. This can't be real. You're sabotaging us. We paid for that house. Yes, I said, still composed, you paid the first month's rent and the security deposit. I smiled faintly. The payment cleared this morning. Thank you for being prompt. The silence that followed was thick enough to feel. Then Mom let out a small, amused laugh. All those years you called her cheap, she said to Sarah, my daughter was quietly building an empire. Maybe she should have bought a few designer purses, just to give you a hint. Sarah sank back into her seat, speechless, as Tom stared blankly at the deed lying between us. Sarah sank into her chair, her perfect posture finally crumbling. But, what about our plans? The remodel? The marble floors? Any renovations need the property owner's approval, I said, nodding toward myself. It's right there in Section 8 of your lease. But if you'd like to suggest reasonable upgrades, we can discuss them. Tom sat motionless, still staring at the documents. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. All these years, you let us tease you, call you cheap, act superior. Why? I took a slow sip of water before answering. Because I figured out early on that real wealth isn't about flaunting it. It's about independence, security, and smart choices. You and Sarah were so busy looking rich, you forgot to become rich. Sarah's tone softened. So, what happens now? Are you going to kick us out? Get even with us? I shook my head. No, Sarah. I don't need revenge. You signed a fair lease. As long as you respect it, you can stay. It's a beautiful home, I hope you'll actually enjoy living there. Then I pulled out another document and placed it on the table. These are your requested changes, the gold-plated fixtures, the imported marble floors. I'm afraid those are denied. However, I've approved your kitchen appliance upgrades. Practical improvements only. The rest of dinner passed in strained silence. Sarah picked at her food, her earlier confidence gone. Tom kept glancing at me as if seeing a stranger. When they stood to leave, Sarah paused at the door. I'm sorry, Jennifer. For what I said. You're not who I thought you were. No, I said gently. But maybe that's the point. Success doesn't always announce itself with designer logos. In the months that followed, everything shifted. Tom and Sarah settled into the house, humbler now. They started taking finance classes. Sarah even asked me to teach her about investing, though she still can't understand my love for discount shopping. Mom and Dad couldn't be happier. Dad just shakes his head sometimes and mutters, $20 million, for my quiet little girl. These days, when I visit Tom and Sarah's home, technically my home, there's no talk of gold-plated anything. Instead, Sarah proudly shows off her homemade meals and the money she's saving, while Tom asks my advice before making big purchases. Last week, I got invited to speak at a women's business conference. The topic? Stealth wealth, How to Build Success Without Showing It Off. I accepted, planning to use Sarah's designer handbag collection as a real-life example of depreciating assets. Now, as I sit in my small apartment overlooking my growing real estate portfolio, I remember something my first mentor told me. If you have to tell people you're successful, you probably aren't. She was right. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't payback, it's quietly winning while everyone else is too busy pretending. And those Italian marble floors Sarah wanted? Let's just say the original hardwood has far more charm. And much better resale value.